Adam, ever the attentive husband, had arranged for a quiet dinner to discuss something important. He had been thinking about expanding their family and felt that the time was right to bring up the topic. As they settled into their seats, he looked across the table at Emily, who was smiling warmly, her eyes twinkling with affection. "Emily," Adam began, his voice gentle, "I've been thinking a lot lately about our future. I think we're ready for a child. What do you think?" Emily's smile faltered slightly, and her fork hovered above her plate. Her eyes, once bright with love, now seemed to cloud over with a complexity Adam couldn't quite decipher. She placed her fork down and took a deep breath, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "Adam," she said slowly, her voice trembling slightly, "there's something I need to tell you." Adam's heart skipped a beat. He had sensed a change in Emily's demeanor, but hadn't anticipated anything this significant. "What is it?" Emily's gaze fell to her plate, her fingers twisting nervously around her napkin. "I've been in love with someone else for a long time, for more than a decade. It's someone you know, Brian." The words hung in the air, a heavy shroud of disbelief settling over the table. Brian Fields, Adam's best friend since high school, was a constant presence in their lives. Charismatic and laid back, Brian had always been a fixture at their social gatherings. The revelation was like a bolt of lightning, shattering Adam's perception of his world. "I don't understand," Adam said, his voice barely above a whisper. "We've been together for 10 years. How could you?" Emily's eyes were filled with tears as she struggled to find the right words. "I didn't marry you because I loved you, Adam. I married you because I wanted to stay close to Brian. I knew that if I was with you, I'd be in his life. I couldn't bear the thought of losing him completely." Adam was stunned into silence, his mind racing to grasp the enormity of Emily's confession. The woman he had devoted his life to, the person he had believed loved him unconditionally, had been driven by a hidden agenda all along. "But why didn't you tell me?" Adam asked, his voice breaking. "Why continue this facade?" Emily's eyes were filled with regret as she reached across the table, her hand trembling as she touched Adam's. "I didn't want to hurt you. I thought I could manage my feelings, that maybe my love for Brian would fade over time. But it didn't. And now with us talking about having a child, I realized I can't bring a child into this world knowing that my heart isn't fully in it. I can't bear the thought of a child who looks like you but has Brian's influence." Adam felt as though the ground had been pulled from beneath him. Emily's words were a searing revelation, exposing a truth he had never imagined. The warmth and affection he had always associated with their relationship now seemed tainted by deceit. Emily stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "I need to go. I can't do this anymore." As Emily walked out of the house, leaving Adam alone with the shattering truth, the silence that followed was deafening. Adam sat there, his mind reeling from the enormity of what had just transpired. The love he had thought was genuine had been a facade, a carefully constructed illusion that had now crumbled into dust. The house that had once been a sanctuary of love and warmth now felt cold and empty. The cheerful glow of the candles seemed to mock the void that had opened up in Adam's heart. He was left to grapple with the aftermath of Emily's departure, his world forever changed by the revelation of her hidden love and the facade of their marriage. As the evening wore on, Adam found himself alone in the quiet of the house, trying to make sense of the storm that had engulfed his life. The reality of Emily's confession settled in, and he was left with a profound sense of betrayal and loss. The picture-perfect life he had cherished for a decade had been a mirage, and the road ahead was uncertain and fraught with emotional upheaval. The serene suburban streets of Glenwood, once a symbol of their perfect life, now seemed to mock the shattered remnants of Adam's happiness. The journey that lay ahead would be one of discovery and healing, but for now he was left to confront the raw and painful truth of a love that had been as fleeting as it was deceptive. Sitting alone at the dinner table, Adam stared at the untouched meal, his mind reeling from the revelation. The dreams he had harbored for their future were now fragments of a past that felt like a lie. The house, once a sanctuary of love and happiness, was now filled with the haunting echoes of Emily's departure. The evening wore on, and Adam remained seated at the table, lost in his thoughts. As he sat there, trying to come to terms with the magnitude of Emily's confession, Adam felt a profound sense of betrayal and grief. The life he had believed in, the love he had cherished, had been built on a foundation of deception. The journey ahead was uncertain, and the path to healing seemed daunting. For now, all he could do was sit in the darkness, grappling with the painful truth and the fragments of a shattered dream. The days following Emily's departure were a blur of confusion and emotional numbness for Adam. Adam had spent the first few days in a state of disbelief, unable to fully grasp the extent of the betrayal he had experienced. He moved through the house like a ghost, his movements automatic and devoid of purpose. The silence of the house was deafening. The laughter and conversations that had once filled the air were replaced by a heavy, oppressive quiet. Adam found himself wandering through the rooms, his mind racing as he tried to make sense of the shattered fragments of his life. He attempted to reach out to Emily, hoping for some clarity or closure, but his calls, emails, and texts went unanswered. The more he tried to connect, the more distant she seemed, and he was left grappling with the unanswered questions that plagued his mind. It was during one of these solitary moments that Adam decided to take a walk through Glenwood, seeking solace in the familiar surroundings that had once been a source of comfort. The town, with its tree-lined streets and friendly faces, now seemed strangely indifferent to his pain. The cheerful greetings of neighbors felt like a stark contrast to the internal turmoil he was experiencing. As he walked, he couldn't help but think about his best friend Brian. The revelation that Emily's feelings for Brian had driven her actions was a constant weight on his mind. The betrayal he felt extended beyond Emily's actions. It also encompassed the complicity of someone he had considered a brother. The thought of confronting Brian filled him with a mixture of anger and apprehension. Adam's walk led him to the local park, a place where he and Emily had often spent time together. The park was serene, with the gentle rustle of leaves and the distant laughter of children playing. Adam found a bench under a large oak tree and sat down, feeling the weight of the past few days pressing heavily on his shoulders. It was here, in the solitude of the park, that Adam's thoughts began to crystallize. He realized that he needed to confront the reality of his situation and decide how to move forward. The pain he felt was undeniable, but it was also a catalyst for change. He needed to find a way to heal, to rebuild his life, and to confront the people who had played a role in this betrayal. As the days turned into weeks, Adam began to take small steps towards reclaiming some semblance of normalcy. He started by sorting through the remnants of his life with Emily, trying to make sense of the material possessions that now felt like relics of a different world. Photographs, mementos, and personal items were packed away, each one a reminder of a love that had been built on a lie. In the midst of this process, Adam found himself drawn to the idea of seeking therapy. The thought of talking to a professional, someone who could provide guidance and support, began to feel like a necessary step towards healing. He reached out to a therapist, Dr. Rebecca Lawson, a compassionate and experienced professional who specialized in relationship and trauma counseling. Their first session was a mix of apprehension and relief. Adam shared his story, the pain of Emily's confession, and the sense of betrayal that had consumed him. Dr. Lawson listened with empathy, providing a safe space for Adam to express his feelings and begin the process of understanding and healing. Through therapy, Adam began to explore the layers of his emotions. He confronted the anger he felt towards Emily and Brian, the sadness of losing a future he had envisioned, and the deep-seated questions about his own worth and identity. Dr. Lawson helped him navigate these feelings, offering strategies to cope with the emotional turbulence and encouraging him to focus on self-care and personal growth. One evening, as Adam sat on the porch watching the sunset, he felt a glimmer of hope. The vibrant colors of the sky seemed to reflect the possibility of renewal, a reminder that even in the midst of darkness, there was a potential for healing and change. He began to think about what he wanted for his future, beyond the pain and betrayal he had experienced. As he considered his options, Adam realized that he needed to confront Brian. The sense of unresolved tension and the lingering questions about Brian's role in the situation were preventing him from moving forward. He reached out to Brian, requesting a meeting to discuss what had transpired. The meeting was set for the following week. Adam felt a mix of anxiety and determination as he prepared for the conversation. He knew that he needed to express his feelings and seek answers, but he also hoped that the meeting would provide some clarity and closure. The days leading up to the meeting were filled with a sense of anticipation and dread. Adam continued his therapy sessions, focusing on building his resilience and finding ways to manage the emotional roller coaster. The support he received from Dr. Lawson was invaluable, helping him stay grounded and focused on his path to healing. Finally, the day of the meeting arrived. Adam met Brian at a local cafe, a neutral space that felt less intimidating than the confines of their past interactions. Brian arrived looking uncomfortable, his usual confidence replaced by a hesitant demeanor. The two men exchanged greetings, and Adam led the way to a quiet corner of the cafe where they could talk privately. As they settled into their seats, Adam took a deep breath and began to speak. "Brian, I asked to meet with you because there are things I need to discuss. Emily's confession has left me with a lot of questions and a great deal of pain. I need to understand your role in this, and I need to express how deeply I've been hurt." Brian's expression was a mixture of shock and guilt. "Adam, I had no idea things were this serious. I knew Emily had feelings for me in the past, but I never realized it was affecting you and your marriage like this. I'm really sorry for what you're going through." Adam's voice was steady but filled with emotion. "It's not just about knowing that she had feelings for you. It's about the fact that our entire relationship has been tainted by this deception. I feel betrayed not just by Emily, but by you as well. We were friends, and I thought we had a bond of trust." Brian nodded, his eyes filled with regret. "I understand. I should have been more aware of what was happening, but I didn't know the full extent of it. I wish there was something I could do to make it right." The conversation continued, with Adam expressing his hurt and Brian offering apologies and explanations. While the meeting didn't provide all the answers Adam sought, it did offer a measure of clarity and a sense of closure. Brian's acknowledgement of his role in the situation, combined with his genuine remorse, helped to ease some of the anger and resentment Adam had been carrying. As the meeting concluded, Adam felt a small sense of relief. The road to healing was still long and uncertain, but he had taken a significant step towards confronting the sources of his pain. The process of rebuilding his life was just beginning, and Adam knew that it would require patience, self-compassion, and continued support. The echoes of betrayal still resonated within him, but he was determined to move forward, to find a new path amidst the ruins of his past. The journey ahead would be challenging, but with each step, Adam hoped to rediscover his sense of self and reclaim the future he had once envisioned. The days following the meeting with Brian were a mix of reflection and emotional exhaustion for Adam. He had spent the past few weeks focusing on therapy, working through his grief, and attempting to piece together a semblance of normalcy in his life. The conversations with Dr. Lawson had been insightful, but the void left by Emily's departure still loomed large, an ever-present reminder of the love he thought he knew. One evening, as the last rays of sunlight cast long shadows across the living room, Adam sat by the window, his mind wandering to the events of the past few months. The emptiness of the house felt more pronounced in the quiet of twilight, and Adam found himself lost in thoughts of what could have been. The pain of Emily's betrayal had settled into a dull ache, a constant companion that seemed to follow him wherever he went. As he stared out at the garden, Adam's thoughts turned to the upcoming meeting with Emily. She had reached out to him after their separation, requesting a final conversation. The idea of meeting her again filled him with a mixture of dread and curiosity. He had agreed to the meeting, hoping for some final answers and perhaps a chance to find closure. The day of the meeting arrived, and Adam found himself once again grappling with conflicting emotions. He had spent the morning preparing for the encounter, reviewing his thoughts and questions in an attempt to stay focused and composed. The anticipation of facing Emily again, combined with the hope of gaining some understanding, made for a restless night. Emily's choice of location for their meeting was unexpected, a quaint, cozy cafe. It was a place they had never visited together, a small, unassuming establishment with soft lighting and a serene ambiance. As Adam arrived, he was struck by the incongruity of the setting. It felt strangely intimate for a conversation of such gravity. Adam walked into the cafe and spotted Emily seated at a corner table. She looked as fragile as he felt, her once vibrant demeanor subdued. Her eyes met his with a mixture of apprehension and resignation. As he approached, he could see the weariness etched on her face, a reflection of the turmoil that had consumed both their lives. "Hi, Adam," Emily said softly as he took a seat across from her. Her voice was barely above a whisper, and she looked down at the table, her fingers nervously tracing patterns on the surface. "Hi, Emily," Adam replied, his voice steady but tinged with the weight of their shared history. He took a deep breath, trying to gather his thoughts. "You wanted to talk. I'm here." Emily nodded, her gaze still fixed on the table. "Thank you for meeting me. I know this isn't easy for either of us." Adam's emotions were a tangled mess: anger, sadness, and a deep sense of betrayal. He had come to this meeting with a list of questions, but as he looked at Emily, he found it difficult to know where to begin. "I don't know where to start," Adam admitted. "I'm still trying to process everything that's happened. I guess I want to understand why. Why did you marry me if you were in love with someone else?" Emily took a shaky breath, her eyes finally meeting his. "Adam, I know my actions were incredibly hurtful and confusing. The truth is, I was deeply in love with Brian for a long time. When I realized that he wasn't interested in a relationship with me, I felt lost. You were there, and you cared for me. I convinced myself that I could make it work with you, that I could learn to love you." Adam's eyes filled with pain as he listened to her words. "But that's not how love works, Emily. You can't just force yourself to love someone. You deceived me for years. Every moment we shared, every gesture of affection, it was all a lie." Emily's eyes welled up with tears. "I didn't mean to deceive you. I genuinely wanted to make our marriage work. I thought that if I could just convince myself that I loved you, that everything would be okay. But it wasn't fair to you, and it wasn't fair to me. Adam's heart ached as he listened to her struggle to explain her actions. The pain of betrayal was still fresh, and he found it difficult to reconcile the Emily he had loved with the woman sitting across from him, admitting to a past of hidden feelings and deceit. I've spent so much time trying to understand why, Adam said, his voice trembling. Why couldn't you have been honest with me from the beginning? Why did you choose to stay in a relationship that you knew was built on false pretenses? Emily's tears spilled over as she spoke. I was afraid, Adam. I was afraid of being alone. I was afraid of losing the one connection I had to Brian, even if it was through you. I didn't know how to face the reality of my feelings, and I thought that by staying with you, I could somehow fix things. Adam's anger flared as he heard her words. And what about me? What about my feelings? My life? Did you ever stop to think about how much you were hurting me by living a lie? Emily's voice was barely audible as she responded. I'm so sorry, Adam. I didn't know how to handle the situation. I didn't know how to be honest without losing everything. I realize now that my actions were selfish, and I regret every moment of it. The conversation continued, with Adam expressing his hurt and Emily offering her apologies. It was a dialogue filled with raw emotions, with both of them grappling with the painful reality of their situation. Despite Emily's attempts to explain, Adam couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal that lingered in his heart. As the meeting drew to a close, Adam felt a deep sense of exhaustion. The answers he had sought were not as satisfying as he had hoped, and the emotional weight of the conversation left him drained. Emily's departure from the cafe was a quiet one, marked by a lingering sadness that hung between them. The drive back to his house was a somber one. Adam's mind replayed the conversation, trying to make sense of the conflicting emotions that had surfaced. He felt a mixture of anger and sadness. The closure he had hoped for seemed elusive, and he was left to navigate the aftermath of their meeting on his own. As he arrived home, Adam found solace in the quiet of his empty house. He sat down at the kitchen table, staring blankly at the remnants of his meal from earlier, the uneaten food a stark reminder of his emotional state. The days that followed were a blur of reflection and self-care. Adam continued his therapy sessions, focusing on finding ways to cope with the ongoing pain of betrayal. He began to engage in activities that brought him a sense of calm and purpose, such as hiking in the nearby nature reserve and reconnecting with old friends. The support from his therapist and friends was invaluable, helping him to slowly rebuild his sense of self and find a path forward. The process of healing was gradual, marked by moments of progress and setbacks. Adam knew that it would take time to fully come to terms with the betrayal and to find a new sense of normalcy. One evening, as Adam sat on the porch, he looked out at the garden and reflected on the journey he had been on. The pain of the past few months was still present, but there was also a glimmer of hope. He knew that he had taken important steps towards healing and that there was a possibility for renewal in the future. The weeks following Emily's departure had been both an emotional labyrinth and a period of unexpected revelations for Adam. He had embraced a routine of self-care and therapy, and although the path to recovery was arduous, he found solace in the gradual healing that came with time. It was a cool, crisp autumn afternoon when Adam decided to take a trip to the local park, a place he frequented for moments of solitude and reflection. The park, with its winding paths and golden leaves, had become a sanctuary of sorts, a retreat from the weight of his thoughts and a space to regain his composure. As he walked along the familiar trails, the rustling leaves beneath his feet and the distant chatter of families provided a comforting backdrop to his musings. The serenity of the park contrasted sharply with the emotions he had been grappling with, and Adam found a measure of peace in the natural beauty surrounding him. During his walk, he stumbled upon a small, secluded bench overlooking a tranquil pond. It was a spot he hadn't noticed before, and the peaceful solitude it offered was too inviting to resist. He took a seat, letting the gentle breeze play with his hair as he gazed out at the pond's reflective surface. As Adam sat lost in thought, his phone buzzed with a new message. He pulled it from his pocket and saw that it was from his friend Rachel, a close confidant who had been a pillar of support throughout his ordeal. Her message read, "Hey Adam, I was thinking of you today. Are you free to catch up? I'd love to hear how you're doing." Adam appreciated Rachel's concern and decided to respond. He sent back a quick reply. "Hi Rachel, I'm at the park right now. Would you like to join me for a walk?" Within a short while, Rachel arrived, her warm presence a welcome contrast to the chill in the air. She greeted Adam with a hug, her concern evident in her eyes. "Hey Adam," she said softly as she took a seat next to him on the bench. "It's good to see you. How have you been holding up?" Adam took a deep breath, his gaze still fixed on the pond. It's been a tough few weeks. I've been trying to find some balance and peace. The meeting with Emily was intense. I thought I'd get some answers, but it only left me with more questions. Rachel listened attentively, her presence a source of comfort. I can't even imagine how difficult this must be for you. Sometimes talking things out can help. Do you want to share what's on your mind? Adam nodded, grateful for her willingness to listen. I've been trying to process everything. The betrayal, the lies, the emotions. It feels like there's a weight on my chest that I can't quite lift. And now there's this sense of emptiness, like something fundamental has been taken from me. Rachel offered a reassuring smile. It's natural to feel that way. You went through a huge emotional upheaval, and it's going to take time to work through it. Have you found any particular strategies or activities that help you cope? Adam thought for a moment. I've been doing more hiking, spending time outdoors. It helps clear my mind. And therapy has been helpful too. But even with these coping mechanisms, there's still a lot of residual pain. Rachel placed a comforting hand on Adam's shoulder. You're doing the right things by seeking support and engaging in activities that help you. It's okay to have setbacks, and it's okay to feel the pain. Healing isn't linear. It's a process with ups and downs. As they continued their walk through the park, Adam felt a renewed sense of hope in Rachel's words. Her empathy and understanding provided a balm for his wounded spirit, and he found solace in their conversation. They strolled past vibrant autumn foliage, exchanging stories and reflections on life. Rachel's presence offered a distraction from Adam's inner turmoil, and for a while he was able to immerse himself in the simple joys of friendship. Eventually, their walk led them to a small cafe nestled at the edge of the park. They decided to stop for a cup of coffee, and as they settled into a cozy corner of the cafe, Adam felt a sense of comfort in the warmth and familiarity of the space. Over steaming cups of coffee, Rachel continued to listen as Adam shared his thoughts. He spoke of his lingering questions about Emily, the uncertainty surrounding his future, and the emotional impact of her death. I've been thinking a lot about what she said in our last conversation, Adam admitted. She spoke about being afraid and feeling lost, but I can't shake the feeling that there's more to it. I keep wondering if there was something I missed, some clue that could have changed things. Rachel nodded thoughtfully. It's understandable to want answers, especially when dealing with such a significant loss. Sometimes, though, the answers we seek might remain elusive. What matters is how you move forward from here. Adam took a deep breath, absorbing Rachel's advice. You're right. Maybe I won't ever fully understand everything, but I can focus on finding a way to heal and move forward. It's just going to take time. Rachel smiled warmly. Exactly. And remember, you don't have to go through this alone. You have friends who care about you, and there's support available whenever you need it. As the afternoon turned to evening, Adam and Rachel finished their coffee and prepared to leave the cafe. The time spent together had provided a much-needed reprieve from his inner struggles, and Adam felt a sense of renewed strength. As they parted ways, Adam thanked Rachel for her support and understanding. He watched as she walked away, her presence a reminder of the positive relationships in his life. Returning home, Adam reflected on the day's events. The conversation with Rachel had helped him gain a clearer perspective on his situation. While the pain of Emily's betrayal and death remained, he now felt a sense of resolve to continue his journey of healing. The park and the cafe had offered moments of peace and connection, and Adam recognized the importance of nurturing these small joys as he worked through his grief. The path ahead was still uncertain, but he was determined to move forward with a sense of hope and resilience. As night fell, Adam prepared for bed, feeling a cautious optimism about the future. The weight of unspoken words and unanswered questions remained, but he was learning to accept the ambiguity and focus on the present. With each passing day, he took steps towards healing, finding solace in the support of friends and the small victories along the way. The gentle hum of the city outside Adam's apartment window had become a familiar lullaby. The bustling streets, with their cacophony of sounds and lights, provided a constant backdrop to his thoughts. It had been a few weeks since his last encounter with Rachel, and while the pain of his recent loss was still fresh, Adam found himself slowly integrating into a new rhythm of life. On this particular Saturday morning, the sun filtered through the curtains, casting a warm glow across the room. Adam stirred from sleep, feeling an unusual sense of determination. It was time to tackle the lingering remnants of his past, specifically Emily's belongings, which still occupied a corner of the apartment. As he made his way to the closet where Emily's things were stored, Adam couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness. The remnants of their life together were both a comfort and a torment, a tangible connection to a past that now seemed almost foreign. He opened the closet door, revealing a collection of boxes and bags. The sight of Emily's belongings, her clothes, books, and personal items, brought a wave of memories crashing over him. Each item was a fragment of a life once shared, now overshadowed by the recent revelations and the pain of her departure. Adam took a deep breath and began sorting through the boxes. He pulled out a small, leather-bound journal, its cover worn from use. He recognized it immediately as one of Emily's, something she had kept for years. The journal had always been a source of curiosity for Adam, but Emily had never shared its contents with him. With trembling hands, Adam opened the journal, the pages rustling softly. The handwriting was delicate and familiar, and he began to read. The entries spanned several years, each one a window into Emily's thoughts and feelings. Adam's heart ached as he read the words, many of which revealed a side of Emily he had never fully known. The early entries were filled with reflections on their relationship, her hopes for their future, and moments of happiness. But as he continued reading, the tone began to shift. The later entries grew darker, revealing her internal struggle and the conflict between her true feelings and the life she was living. One entry stood out particularly stark. Sometimes I wonder if I'm living a lie. I love him, but I can't shake the feeling that my heart belongs to someone else. I thought I could make it work, that my love for him would grow. But the truth is, I'm still in love with Brian. It's a secret I can't share, not even with him. I'm afraid of what would happen if he knew. I don't want to hurt him, but the truth is a burden I carry alone. Adam's hands shook as he read the entry. The revelation was both painful and validating. It confirmed what he had suspected, but never fully acknowledged. The depth of Emily's feelings for Brian and her internal conflict were laid bare in those pages, and Adam felt an overwhelming mix of sorrow and anger. He continued through the journal, finding more entries that echoed similar sentiments. Emily's struggle with her feelings and her decision to stay with Adam, despite her ongoing love for Brian, were chronicled in a raw and unfiltered manner. As Adam closed the journal, he felt a sense of closure and grief. The insights into Emily's internal world provided some answers, but they also deepened his sense of betrayal. The pain of realizing that their entire relationship had been overshadowed by Emily's unresolved feelings was almost too much to bear. Feeling emotionally drained, Adam decided to take a walk to clear his mind. The fresh air and the physical activity helped to alleviate some of the heaviness he felt. He meandered through the local farmer's market, where the vibrant colors and lively atmosphere offered a brief respite from his internal turmoil. He picked up some fresh produce and flowers, finding solace in the simple pleasures of life. The market vendors greeted him with warm smiles, and he engaged in small talk with a few of them, finding comfort in the normalcy of these interactions. On his way back home, Adam noticed a small, cozy bookstore he had never seen before. Curiosity got the better of him, and he decided to step inside. The bookstore was a haven of tranquility, with its shelves lined with books and its inviting atmosphere. Adam wandered through the aisles, his fingers trailing along the spines of the books. He found a comfortable nook with a plush armchair and decided to sit down. He picked up a book from a nearby shelf and began to read. The book was a novel about personal growth and resilience, and as he immersed himself in its pages, he found a sense of comfort and distraction. The bookstore visit proved to be a therapeutic experience. He left the store with a renewed sense of calm, carrying the book with him as a reminder of the importance of self-care and finding solace in simple joys. Returning home, Adam placed the book on his nightstand and glanced at the leather-bound journal that still lay on his desk. He felt a pang of sadness, but also a glimmer of resolve. The journal had offered him insights, but it was now time to focus on his own path forward. He resolved to keep moving forward, to continue processing his emotions and seeking healing. The journey was far from over, but Adam felt a sense of determination to embrace the future with hope and resilience. He recognized that while the echoes of the past would always be a part of him, he had the strength to build a new chapter in his life. As he prepared for bed that night, Adam felt a sense of quiet acceptance. The pain of the past remained, but he was learning to navigate it with grace and resilience. The journal had given him answers, and the bookstore had provided solace. Now it was up to him to continue the journey of healing and to embrace the new possibilities that lay ahead. Adam's routine had settled into a pattern of therapy sessions, self-care, and moments of reflection. The days had become more manageable, and while the pain of Emily's departure still lingered, he had begun to find small pockets of normalcy. It was a crisp December morning when a knock on his apartment door brought an unexpected disruption to his daily rhythm. He had just finished a late breakfast and was preparing to head out for a walk when the knock echoed through his apartment. The sound was sharp and insistent, pulling him out of his thoughts. He approached the door with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Opening the door, Adam was met with a figure he hadn't anticipated. Brian. The sight of his old friend standing there, a mixture of concern and apprehension on his face, was both surprising and unsettling. Brian, Adam said, his voice a blend of surprise and guardedness. What are you doing here? Brian shifted on his feet, looking both hesitant and determined. Adam, I hope you don't mind me showing up like this. I've been trying to reach you for a while, and I thought I should come by in person. Adam's mind raced. The last time he had seen Brian, they had exchanged brief messages, but their conversations had been limited. He nodded, stepping aside to let Brian in. Please come in, Adam said, trying to keep his tone neutral. I wasn't expecting you, but I'm glad you came. Brian entered the apartment, and Adam led him to the living room. The two men sat across from each other, an awkward silence settling between them. Adam noticed Brian's troubled expression and the subtle tension in his posture. Can I get you something to drink? Adam offered, trying to break the ice. Brian shook his head. No, I'm fine. I just wanted to talk. I know it's been a difficult time for you, and I wanted to express my condolences properly. I also wanted to clear the air about some things. Adam nodded, his curiosity piqued. Sure, I'm listening. Brian took a deep breath, gathering his thoughts. I've been thinking a lot about everything that happened, about Emily, about you, and about us. I realize that I haven't been as supportive or as communicative as I should have been. I'm truly sorry for that. Adam's expression softened slightly. I appreciate you coming here, Brian. It's been a challenging period, and I've been struggling to make sense of everything. What do you want to clear the air about? Brian hesitated for a moment before speaking. I want to be honest with you. I knew about Emily's feelings for me. She told me a long time ago, back when you two were first dating. I didn't act on it because I valued our friendship and didn't want to complicate things. But I realize now that I should have been more upfront with you. Adam's eyes widened in surprise. You knew. Why didn't you say anything sooner? Brian looked down, clearly grappling with his emotions. I didn't want to hurt you. I thought that by keeping quiet, I was protecting our friendship and your relationship with Emily. But in hindsight, I see that my silence only added to the confusion and pain. I regret not being more honest. Adam absorbed Brian's words, the complexity of the situation washing over him. It's hard to hear this now, Brian. I wish you had told me earlier, but I understand that it must have been difficult for you. Brian nodded, his gaze meeting Adam's. I know it's no excuse, but I hope you can understand where I was coming from. I should have been more transparent, and I'm sorry for any added pain my actions, or lack thereof, caused. Adam took a moment to reflect. I appreciate your honesty, Brian. It doesn't change the past, but it does help me understand things a bit better. I've been working through a lot of emotions, and this revelation adds another layer to that process. Brian nodded sympathetically. I can imagine. And if there's anything I can do to help, or if you have any questions, I'm here to listen. The conversation between the two men continued, with Brian offering his support and Adam grappling with the weight of the revelations. They spoke about their shared history, their feelings about Emily, and the challenges they had faced. While the conversation was difficult, it provided a measure of closure and understanding. As the discussion came to a close, Adam felt a sense of weary acceptance. The truth about Emily's feelings and Brian's role in the situation had been laid bare, and while it didn't erase the pain, it offered a clearer picture of the past. I'm grateful for you coming by, Brian, Adam said as they prepared to part ways. It's been helpful to talk things through, even though it's been difficult. I'm still processing everything, but this conversation has been a step towards that. Brian offered a sincere smile. I'm glad I could help, even if just a little. If you ever need to talk again, or if there's anything else I can do, don't hesitate to reach out. As Brian left the apartment, Adam watched him go, feeling a mix of relief and sadness. The encounter had been emotionally charged, but it had also brought a sense of clarity. The past was complex, but Adam was learning to navigate it with a newfound understanding.